So what if a country could completely redesign its future just by challenging its past? It's a huge question. Well, in Bangladesh, a really bold new vision is starting to take shape. And get this, it's not coming from a government office, but from the pages of a single book. It lays out a pretty radical plan to tackle national debt and transform the whole nation from the ground up. Let's explore this blueprint.
The whole framework is built around this powerful idea, the architects of tomorrow. Now, this isn't just some catchy title. It's really about a fundamental shift in thinking. It suggests that a nation's destiny isn't just something that happens to you, but something you can actually design and build on purpose.
And here it is, the source of that whole vision. The Architects of Tomorrow by Guru Delawar Hossain. What's so compelling here is how it's presented. This isn't just some theoretical book. It's being put forward as the actual foundation for a complete national overhaul.
I mean, just look at the language the book's own preface uses. It calls itself a manifesto and a strategic roadmap. Now, those are really important words. They're a signal that this isn't just academic theory. It's meant to be a concrete, step-by-step blueprint for taking action.
Okay, so you have this big vision, but how does it actually translate to reality? Well, it starts by confronting a massive obstacle, the national debt. Specifically, the debt from what the book calls unplanned and unnecessary megaprojects. This is where the aspirational ideas collide with some very hard economics.
And according to the preface, this debt problem, it doesn't exist in a vacuum. It's all part of a much bigger landscape of deep-rooted problems, things that are really holding the nation back. The roadmap argues you simply can't fix one without tackling all the others at the same time.
So, the solution it proposes basically rests on three pillars. You've got the guiding philosophy, this idea of national rejuvenation, then you have the concrete strategy for how to handle the debt, and finally, the long-term vision of what a prosperous state looks like. The key takeaway here is that you need all three of these working together.
Now, to actually execute this plan, the book proposes a specific body, DAFA 34, which stands for the Commission for Strategic Debt and Treaties. You can think of this as the engine that's going to drive the whole strategy forward, turning the words on the page into actual government action.
So, how would this commission actually do its job? Well, the core of the strategy is a four-step roadmap, designed very specifically to deal with the debt from these megaprojects. Let's break it down.
Here are the 4 steps, right in order. First, you try to balance the trade. If that doesn't work, you suspend the project. Then you go find new partners. And finally, if you have to, you verify the original agreements and take legal action. It's a very clear, escalating process.
Okay, so the crucial thing about step 1 is that it's not immediately confrontational. The preferred path is actually economic partnership. The goal is to boost your exports and services to the country you owe money to, basically trying to trade your way out of the debt. But what happens if that partnership model just doesn't work out? Well, this is where the strategy takes a much harder line. The proposal is to just suspend the project immediately, stop the financial bleeding, and then pivot to find a new international partner to finish the work.
And that brings us to the final, and honestly, the most dramatic part of the strategy. This is where the plan shifts gears from economics and project management into the really complex world of international law.
The entire legal argument here really hinges on one specific part of the Constitution, Article 145K. What this article says is that all international agreements must be presented first to the President and then to Parliament. According to this plan, that's not just some formality, it's a non-negotiable constitutional requirement.
This creates a really clear dividing line. In the logic of this plan, any agreement that was not presented to Parliament gets classified as a secret and illegal agreement. It basically sets up a simple yes or no test for the legality of all these past deals.
The source material is very specific on this point. It says this verification process should apply to all international treaties, but it explicitly calls out that special attention should be paid to agreements that were signed with India by the previous government.
So, what's the endgame here if these treaties are in fact deemed illegal? The plan's final step is to file a lawsuit in an international court and seek compensation. This is the ultimate last resort, taking the whole dispute onto the global stage.
So, let's pull back to the big picture for a second. What does all this add up to? Well, we've seen a plan that connects a grand philosophical vision directly to a very high-stakes legal and financial strategy. It really frames this moment as a fundamental crossroads for the entire nation.
In the end, this is the story being told, right? It's a journey from the philosophical ideals and the architects of tomorrow all the way to a pragmatic, even confrontational plan to reshape the country's financial destiny. Every single step is linked to that larger goal of national rejuvenation.
Ultimately, this entire blueprint is about using the past to redesign the future. And that leaves us with a pretty critical question to think about. When a nation decides to fundamentally challenge its past agreements, how does that single act of defiance truly reshape its path forward?